Hey guys, so welcome to Maths Recovery with Rebecca. We are going to be looking at part 2 of factorization. So, in the first part, if you remember, we were looking at just normal taking out a common factor, binomials. Now, in this session, we're going to be looking at dots. Okay, so we're still looking at binomial factorization. And remember our checklist. We have binomials and then it's common factor. Look for the coefficient of the HCF. Look for the highest common variable. That would be our common factor. And then just divide that common factor that we have through. Now we're going to be adding something else to our list. So the next thing we're going to be adding to our list is difference between two squares. Now, difference between two squares is, we're going to call it dots for the rest of the session just to make this line a bit shorter. So basically all we're looking for is a square number subtracted by a square number. Now, what is a square number? So a square number is any number that when square rooted, you get a positive integer or variable. So if we're going to look at this, square number, 4 is a square number, x squared is a square number, x minus y squared is a square number, and 16x squared y squared is a square number. Because when we square root them, if you look down here, they get positive integers or variables right here. So a nice way to remember this is if you've got a variable and if the exponent is even, it can be square rooted. Okay. And then any number 4, 16, what else? 9, because that's 3 times 3, 25, 5 times 5. Those are all examples of square numbers. Okay, so let's look at our first example. So our checklist has become a little bit bigger. So we still have our common factor, looking for the HCF, highest common variable. Now we're going to add dots. Square number minus a square number. The word difference in the word dots, difference of two squares, is minus. So always look for common factor first. So remember, as we add to our checklist, always start at the top depending on what polynomial you're working with. So we're working with a binomial, so we're going to start at the top of the binomial list. We're going to look common factor. If not, then we go to dots. So let's look at 4x squared minus y squared. So first thing that I picked up is that 4 and the coefficient here 1 have nothing in common. So there's no coefficient highest common factor. Then I looked at the highest common variable. So I've got x squared and I've got y squared. So we have no variable that's common. Then I go and look at, is 4x squared a square number? Yes. Do I have a minus? Yes. Is y squared a square number? Yes. So we have two square numbers, as well as a difference between them. So let's break this up. So I know that 4x squared, when I square root it, I'm going to get 2x. So we can write 4x squared as 2x times 2x. So bear with me here. I'm going to be building something, so just bear with me as how I break up this first one for us. Got an x squared and an x squared. There it is right there. Then I've got a minus. I know that a minus can be a plus and a minus. So each one of my things are going to get a plus and a minus. Y squared is y times y. So that is how that works. So when you have difference of two squares, your output is actually two binomial brackets. So it's the square root of the first, x squared, or 2, in this case it's 2x. And we must remember that 4x squared is 2x and 2x, so both brackets need to get a 2x. The minus is a minus and a plus, and the y squared is a y and a y. The order of the brackets, so if you want to put 2x plus y, then 2x minus y, will not make a difference because these two brackets are being multiplied by each other. So the only thing that will make a difference is if you change the signs of the brackets. Remember, the sign that is the plus minus is always in the middle. Okay, let's look at a second example. So I've got 8x cubed minus 32xy squared. Now, these are not square numbers. 8 is actually a cube number because 2 times 2 times 2. And 32, that's just an even number. That's not a square number. That's not a cube number. And also x cubed. This 3 is not even. So I'm dealing with numbers that aren't square numbers, even though I've got the negative in the middle. To do dots, all 3 need to be correct. You need to have a square number in the front, check. Difference in the middle, check. Square number at the back, check. The only thing that's checked here is in the middle we have a difference, so it's not going to work. So let's see. Remember our checklist. First thing to check is a common factor. Wait, yes, 8 and 32. The coefficient HCFs of h and 32 is 8. And our highest common variable of x cubed and xy squared is 8x. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide 8x into each of the terms. So if I divide 8x into 8x cubed, I'm going to get x squared. And I divide 8x into negative 32xy squared, I'm going to get negative 4y squared. Okay, great. Am I done? Well, we've got a second part. Let's go check if dots actually works. Well, let's go back to this bracket now that we've just made. X squared, that's a square number. We have a minus, and 4 is a square number, and y squared is a square number. So what have we got? We've got a square number minus a square number. So keeping that 8x in front, x squared is x and x, minus plus 2y, 2y. What I also like to do is I like to tell my learners, go back to that minus bracket and check. Because in some cases, this minus bracket could actually be another dots. But let's take a look. Yes, we have the minus, but either side of the minus are not square numbers. So there we are done. Next one. Let's look at a higher level question. So I've got 16, which is a square number, a minus b squared. Remember, this is a square number. And I've got a minus, which is the difference. In between, well, 25 is a square number. Let's look at our checklist. Common factor, not seeing it. 16 and 25, no common factor there. Highest common variable, well, we don't have another a minus b over here, so that's not going to work. But we do have a square number minus a square number. This is why a minus b is a square number, because I can go and double that bracket, and they'll be exactly the same multiplied by each other. So, let's see. If I look at this 16a minus b squared as a first term, and I look at what it could be, I'm going to get a 4a minus b, and on the other side another 4a minus b. This minus in the middle changes to a minus and a plus, and 25 is 5 and 5. Now the question is, should I go and break the internal bracket? No, I just did it. So 4a minus 4b, 4a minus 4b. The question is, should I or should I not break it? Now I've broken it. But when I broke it, did it change anything? So for example, any of these terms after the distribution, were they able to be added to this 5 to make this a binomial? No. So in all honesty, there was no point in me breaking this bracket, but I did anyway. So you're not going to get marked down if you break the bracket and you still can't do anything. Just make sure that the outer brackets, the actual bracket that makes this into one term, because that's the point of factorizing, is to create one term, is not broken. So you mustn't go now and FOIL this trinomial and this trinomial. But if you break an inner bracket, it's not going to be a train smash. Okay, so now let's look. I want you to pause and try these 4 questions. Now these 4 questions is a mixture of video 1 and video 2. You can pause it because I'm going to give you the answers now, and then you can do them, and then let me know in the comments below if you got 100%, or if you want a short video on one type of specific one. But here are the answers. Now, that number 3, remember I said, always check if this middle bracket that you've already dotted out is actually another square bracket. And it was, because x squared is a square number, there's your minus, and 1 is also a square number, 1 times 1. So what I did is I went to go take this middle bracket and I dots it right there. You see, I just popped that x squared plus 1 at the back and I just dots that. And then I checked. This minus bracket, it's not a dots anymore because the first term, the x, is no more a square number. Even though we've got the minus and we've got the 1, remember, all three characteristics need to fit. And then if you look at this number 4, I broke the brackets. And you see, when I broke the brackets, I was actually able to add this 2x and this minus 3x, and this 2x and this plus 3x to make it a little bit more simpler. So for something like this, I would expect you to go and break those internal brackets to simplify. So that would be where it would be necessary for you to break the internal brackets. So just break them, see what's up, and then move on. Okay, thanks for watching the video. In our next video, we'll be looking at a trinomial and how to factorize a trinomial. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Thank you.